curb stomp, roadie run, chainsaw bayonet. If these phrases mean anything to you, then you've likely borne witness to the dizzying display of co-op carnage known as Gears of War. The cogs and the grubs have been waging their war of emergence and emulsion since the advent of the Xbox 360. But the history of Marcus Phoenix and the Locust Horde runs much, much deeper. Stay tuned to find out how Epic Games took a chance on a young developer who dared to dream and created a modern action horror masterpiece. Epic Games, known colloquially to the industry and its fans as Epic, was originally founded as Potomac Computer Systems in 1991 by Tim Sweeney in Rockville, Maryland. After a decade of making games out of his parents' basement, Sweeney established Potomac Computer Systems and released ZZT, an ANSI character-based top-down adventure game. Billed as the object-oriented game, ZZT was released in 1991 as PC shareware and quickly grew in popularity. The success of ZZT fueled much of the company's early growth, and it remains a popular MS-DOS game creation system to this day. Potomac was rebranded as Epic Mega Games a year later, and a slew of additional and equally successful shareware titles followed. The 1993 point-and-click adventure title Dare to Dream is an especially curious example of this period, as it marked the arrival of one Cliff Bleszinski to the Epic Mega Games roster. Dare to Dream was the spiritual successor to Bleszinski's first commercial outing, another point-and-click adventure game titled The Palace of Deceit: Dragon's Plight, and showcased both the young developer's emerging talent and affinity for video game classicism. Bleszinski then teamed up with Dutch programmer Arjan Broussais to helm the development of 1994's Jazz Jackrabbit, a pastiche of video game platform classics like Sonic the Hedgehog and the 1992 Amiga release Zool. The success of Jazz Jackrabbit and a handful of spin-offs would carry Bleszinski and company through to 1998 and the groundbreaking release of the Unreal game engine. Unreal is the seminal first-person PC shooter developed by Epic Mega Games in partnership with Digital Extremes for publisher GT Interactive. It tells the story of prisoner 849 and her desperate struggle for survival following a crash landing on the alien planet Na Pali. Bleszinski shared lead design duties with Digital Extremes founder James Schmaltz. Unreal was famously built using the Epic Mega Games' proprietary Unreal Engine, which had been cultivated by founder Tim Sweeney in his garage for over 3 years prior to the game's release. This first generation of the Unreal Engine integrated rendering, collision detection, AI, visibility, networking, scripting, and file system management into one complete engine. Written in C++, the Unreal Engine features a staggering degree of portability and has been one of the most widely implemented engines in modern video game development, although initial network performance paled in comparison to that of top rival Quake 2, which, among other accolades, was listed as GameSpy's most popular online game for '98. But despite id Tech's corner on the market, Unreal was a hit and has since spawned an official sequel, countless mission packs, and lives on in Unreal Tournament. Following the initial success of Unreal, Epic Mega Games dropped the Mega, officially becoming Epic Games in 1999, and relocated to beautiful Cary, North Carolina. An official sequel to Jazz Jackrabbit and the Unreal Tournament series kept Bleszinski and the boys at Epic pretty busy, until they changed the face of gaming in 2006 with the advent of Gears of War for the Xbox 360. The project that would eventually be known as Gears of War started off as Unreal Warfare, but as its development began to shadow the release of Unreal Engine 3, Epic and lead designer Cliff Bleszinski scrapped the association to the Unreal universe in lieu of establishing a new franchise. Near the end of its long development process, Gears of War was the first Xbox 360 game shown to the press, with a closed-door clip screening during the 2005 Game Developers Conference. At an E3 demonstration later that year, Bleszinski showed off the game while handing out lavish hardcover books detailing story elements and concept art. Cliffy B and the Gears of War crew promised a game that featured characters and a world to care about, an action-packed ride that wouldn't skimp on the story. Gears of War would be character-driven, centered on themes of loyalty, redemption, paranoia, and the concept of destroyed beauty. Reluctant hero Marcus Phoenix would lead the remnants of the planet Sera's coalition of ordered governments in a full-scale counter-assault against the Locust Horde, a subterranean race of monstrous humanoids who wage a mysterious genocide against mankind during the calamity of civil war. Childhood pal Dominic Santiago would aid Marcus in his mission, a story element that would both inform and embrace Gears of War's revolutionary implementation of cooperative campaign gameplay. Actor John DiMaggio, the man behind Futurama's trash-talking robot Bender, voiced Marcus Phoenix, while video game VO journeyman Carlos Ferro supplied the vocals for Dom. Marcus and Dom's relationship serves as the cornerstone of Gears of War's campaign storyline, and the seamless integration of an ever-present partner via cooperative gameplay, whether controlled by a real player or computer AI, revolutionized this concept for the Xbox 360 generation. To top it off, a handful of 4-on-4 competitive multiplayer game modes maintained Epic's patented tournament sensibilities. At its core, Gears of War is a cover-based third-person shooter. Blazinski cites a trilogy of games when discussing chief influences, namely the third-person finesse of Capcom's Resident Evil 4, Namco's Killswitch for its tactical cover system, and the original Bionic Commando, with the analogy of the Gears terrain system to Commando's fluid platform navigation. Blazinski refers to this cover-based, wall-bounce style of gameplay as stop and pop, compared to the run-and-gun style popularized by FPS standards. And Epic's approach to the world-building of Gears of War would greatly inform its gameplay mechanics. This is perhaps most evident in the Gears arsenal, from the revolutionary chainsaw bayonet of the Cog Lancer to the biotic weaponry of the Locust Horde. When it hit the streets, Gears of War was gangbusters. In addition to a handful of accolades at E3 2 years in a row, it was on record as one of the most anticipated games of 2006. Pre-order sales were second only to Halo 2 in the history of Microsoft Studios. And Gears was also the first Xbox or Xbox 360 title to sell out and reach the top 10 charts in Japan. Critics and fans the world over immediately fell in love with the game's unique, adrenaline-fueled celebration of bloodshed. And throughout 2007, Gears of War was the second most played game on Xbox Live. The phenomenal success of Epic's fledgling franchise, coupled with the campaign's mysterious elliptical ending, hinted at more to come. Dark times for Delta Squad, but a long road indeed for the hot new IP. Upon its release in November of 2006, Gears of War from Epic Games was a smash hit, and gave Xbox loyalists the grittier, gorier alternative to Halo it seems they were waiting for. Gears essentially redefined the third-person shooter genre with its breakneck cinematic campaign and brutal competitive multiplayer. And with a runaway hit on their hands, Epic and publisher Microsoft Game Studios had no intention of slowing down. You grubs better grab some cover. Delta Squad is in your house. A year after its release, the best-selling Gears of War was ported to PCs, with additional content by Polish development studio People Can Fly, who'd achieved a modicum of notoriety and success with their work on the Painkiller series on PC and the original Xbox. An interest in the Unreal Engine led them to reach out to Epic, who, impressed with a demo presentation, hired People Can Fly to port Gears to Windows PCs. The new content provided by People Can Fly included 5 new campaign chapters, 3 new multiplayer maps, a few new game modes, and a game editor, making it a must-have for any true Gears head. Xbox diehards were, of course, incensed by this snubbing of their prized console exclusivity. Ultimately, sales of the PC version were underwhelming compared to the original Xbox 360 release. But fortunately, a follow-up from Cliffy B and the crew at Epic was already well underway. In July of 2008, a teaser image from the official Gears of War 2 website indicated a release date later that year on November 9th. A week later at the Microsoft E3 press conference, November 7th was solidified as the game's official release date. Upon the game's completion, Cliff Bleszinski maintained that, unlike its predecessor, Gears of War 2 would not be ported to PCs, a move that most certainly won back the hearts of Epic's Xbox army. Taking place 6 months after the events of the original game, Gears of War 2 shadows Delta Squad and the COG forces as they launch a counter-assault against the Grubs. Marcus, Dom, Baird, and the Coltrane would take the fight all the way to the heart of the Locust's subterranean lair. A host of new allies and enemies would step into Epic's ever-evolving mythos. Novelist and comic book writer Joshua Ortega was tapped to pen the story for Gears of War 2 in an effort to highlight the gravitas of its dramatic personae. and film composer Steve Jablonsky replaced Kevin Riepel as the maestro behind Gears of War 2's epic musical soundscape. Like the original Gears before it, Gears of War 2 was built on the Unreal Engine, now updated to 3.5. Several issues from the first game were addressed, including the scathing brutality of the so-called casual difficulty setting, and the notorious host advantage problem in multiplayer. Heavy netcode optimization was implemented, and the gamut of gameplay from cover system to weapon balance was honed a little bit closer to perfection. But the introduction of a new cooperative multiplayer game mode would perhaps define this second entry in the franchise the most. Horde mode pits up to 5 players against never-ending waves of locust creatures and commandos in a desperate mission of survival and ultimately prestige. Gears of War 2 was the best-selling game of 2009, with over 2 million copies sold on the weekend of its release. Downloadable content was certain to follow. In addition to the flashback map pack that shipped with all new copies of Gears 2, players were offered the combustible and snowblind map packs, for a total of 5 updated Gears 1 multiplayer maps and 7 elementally themed maps new to Gears 2. Summer of 2009 heralded the arrival of the Dark Corners map pack along with the deleted campaign chapter Road to Ruin, collectively known as the All Fronts Collection. All of these releases featured an unprecedented integration with Xbox Live's achievement system and would set a new standard for DLC to come. Epic Games would stay busy throughout 2009, leading up to the August 19th release of the Super Metroid-inspired Shadow Complex, a sci-fi platform adventure game developed in association with the Salt Lake City-based Chair Entertainment. With a script provided by comic book writer and novelist Peter David, Shadow Complex offered players a challenging action-adventure throwback in the spirit of Castlevania Symphony of the Night and the original Metal Gear. This digitally distributed Xbox 360 exclusive smashed all sales records for Xbox Live Arcade, and has earned numerous accolades, including a nom for the Action Game of the Year Interactive Achievement Award from the Academy of Interactive Arts and Sciences. Activity at Epic was relatively quiet during 2010 until their October release of the Unreal Development Kit Beta, the free edition of Unreal 3 that provides uncompromised access to Epic's award-winning toolset. Then, on December 17th of 2010, 2 months prior to the game's release, Epic Games announced the Xbox-exclusive Epic Edition of Bulletstorm, an upcoming first-person shooter developed in partnership with People Can Fly. This Epic Edition would not only include Day 1 DLC content for Bulletstorm, it would provide players early access to the multiplayer beta of the eagerly anticipated Gears of War 3. The Gears of War 3 exclusive beta officially began on April 18, 2011. GameStop pre-order customers were granted access a week later, and the beta ran for almost a month, shutting down on May 15th. Not only were Gears fans treated to an early hands-on of the most refined version of the game to date, they could earn exclusive in-game weapon and character skins for Gears of War 3 multiplayer. Fans would have to wait over 4 months until Gears 3 would hit the streets, but that's a grub of a different color. After the phenomenal success of the first 2 entries in the series, the Gears of War franchise powered its way into the second decade of the 21st century with a genre-bending gusto only Epic Games could muster. But with Gears creator Cliff Bleszinski on his way out of the industry, would Epic Games be able to carry a torch for the fans he'd left behind? Stay tuned to find out how Gears of War faced judgment and forged ahead by looking to the past. Our story picks up in the spring of 2011. Thanks to the Bulletstorm Epic Edition and GameStop pre-order bonuses, access to the Gears of War 3 multiplayer beta reached an unprecedented level of player involvement before it was terminated on May 15th. Epic took home a king's ransom in results from the free QA testing, while players walked away with a suite of unlockable in-game characters and weapon skins. It was a win-win situation, but it would be a long 4 months before the game hit streets in September. The summer of 2011 was replete with marketing and messaging for Gears of War 3, from the crowdsourced Fate of Carmine campaign to collaboration with rapper and Gears 3 actor Ice-T. On top of the in-game items from the beta, a torrent of unlockables and additional pre-order bonuses filtered in from various outlets. As a result, Gears of War 3 pre-orders topped 1 million units worldwide, the fastest in platform history for the Xbox 360. Then, on September 20th, 2011, Gears of War 3 hit the streets, and Xbox Live was once again ablaze with tales of Lancers and Locusts. Sci-fi author Karen Traviss, known for her novelizations of the original Gears of War and her extensive work in the Star Wars universe, was tapped to pen the story for Gears of War 3, which details Delta Squad's final heroic assault against the combined Lambent and Locust hordes. Anya and other female cogs would join the fight. Marcus Phoenix would finally face a cold-hearted reunion with his father, and the Brotherhood of Delta Squad would be put to the ultimate test. Like Gears of War 2 before it, Gears 3 was built using the Unreal Engine 3.5. And in addition to its tear-jerking co-op campaign, Gears of War 3 offered up a multitude of innovations to its various multiplayer game modes. Notably, the customization hinted at in the beta was blown out to epic proportions, pun intended, with in-game unlockables and achievements surrounding every facet of the game. Horde mode was back, and better than ever, redesigned as Horde 2.0 with a new monetary system and strategic defenses to help players fend off 50 waves of the Locust Horde. And the introduction of Beast mode allowed players to step into the role of their favorite Locust baddies to see what war is like on the other side of the barbed wire fence. Gears of War 3 was a critical and commercial hit, with praise across the board for its near-perfection polish. DLC support was aggressive to say the least, with a total of 5 major releases through March of 2012, including the campaign-centric ROM's Shadow. In addition to the unlockable weapon skins, a variety of purchasable weapon skins were made available as DLC. The unashamed commercial attitude of this move enraged some of the industry's elite haters, despite the fact that these purely cosmetic add-ons actually made you easier to spot and kill. But despite the ire of DLC dissenters, the weapon skins, like the rest of the content, sold like hotcakes. Because throughout all of these releases, and during the time since, Epic Games has engendered player loyalty and retention for Gears of War 3 through the continued use of their engaging community event calendar and innovative in-game rewards. The following summer, on June 4th, 2012, Epic unveiled Gears of War Judgment at the E3 2012 Microsoft press conference. The debut trailer featured a young Lieutenant Damon Baird alongside a young Augustus Cole, who must, along with the other members of Kilo Squad, stand trial for war crimes during the pre-Emergence Day chaos. A 2013 release date was promised for this prequel to the original Gears of War, brandishing the logos of both Epic Games and sister developer People Can Fly. In an effort to combat the harsh criticism of the Gears writing over the years, Epic and PCF brought on esteemed industry writers Tom Bissell and Rob Otten, whose contributions not only defined the game's narrative structure, they informed Epic and PCF's somewhat irreverent revisionist approach. Then, on Wednesday, October 3rd, 2012, Epic Games released a statement on their website that would shake the company and the entire gaming industry to the core. Cliff Bleszinski, the creator and captain of the Gears of War enterprise, was departing Epic and the video game industry in general. Cliff left a personal note to his colleagues. Quote, "I literally grew up in this business. And now that I'm grown up, it's time for a much-needed break." In the wake of an Epic Games without Cliffy B, producers Alan Van Slyke and Chris Wynn stepped up to helm Judgment along with the team across the Atlantic. People Can Fly did introduce a variety of changes to the standard toolbox of Gears mechanics. And for the first time, standard Gears multiplayer did away with the patented execution, and primarily featured cog-on-cog action. Locusts would instead make their appearance in Overrun, a new multiplayer game mode akin to a fusion of Horde and Beast modes, and arguably the most notable contribution of Judgment to the Gears of War universe. The original multiplayer would make its return, but not before PCF shook things up a bit. Overrun features classes and landscape management, a return to the prototype of the original Gears of War, which took its cue from objective-based multiplayer titles like Battlefield and Enemy Territory. Like Gears 3 before it, community support for Judgment was strong right out the gate, with launch week events like Kill the Reaper and ongoing prize box support. Gears of War Judgment hit the ground running, but will it go the distance like its predecessors? And what's next for the cogs? Only time will tell. Not only was the original Gears of War trilogy an industry game-changer, these games helped define the emerging identity of the Xbox 360 console and stand as rock-solid testaments to the power and ingenuity of the Unreal Engine. But you don't have to take my word for it.